Afternoon. We need to talk about ULEZ, and then if you make it to the end of the video, I'm going to tell you how I fixed the leak at the back of my Mark 6 Transit, and I'm also going to tell you on the death mission that I've just sent Ron on into Birmingham. But let's talk about low emission zones, not in Birmingham, in London. We just had the ruling. Do you remember I did a big video a couple of weeks ago that there was a big ruling that was about to take down the whole ULEZ and would have taken with it Transport for London. Let's just go back to it. So it's been going through the courts that the signage for the low emission zones are not adequate, i.e. if you just drive past a sign that says ULEZ or has the green thing with the circle in it, it doesn't actually tell you anything about what you need to do or how much you're going to be charged. Chap called Noel Wilcox had contended it and was in court for the third time. This third time, having won twice, by the way, the fact that the signage was unlawful, the third time around, they've said, no, you're not winning this one. Interestingly, though, they haven't said that the signs are lawful. Let's have a look at this. This is from Visor Down, motorbiking website. London's dodgy ULEZ signs, riders are still getting stung. If you ride in London, you'll already know the pain of the ULEZ, whether you're on a 125 that doesn't scrape through the emissions test, or you've got an older but perfectly roadworthy machine that the system says is dirty, the charge stings. What's worse, according to a string of court cases, the very signs telling you about the scheme are unlawful, and yet Transport for London carries on regardless. So we've known from those two court cases that the signage was deemed unlawful, therefore TfL shouldn't be charging people because the signage is unlawful. But the update was this week, scaffolding company boss and all-round thorn in Transport for London's side, Noel Wilcox, was back in court for the third time. He's beaten the suit twice, proving that both ULEZ and ULEZ signage across London doesn't meet the legal standards, and that's right. The warning signs meant to tell you you're entering the zone are technically illegal. But despite this, Transport for London is still happily cashing in. But this latest round hasn't gone his way. The judge sided with TfL's argument that stopping the scheme would be too costly and would harm London's air quality. In other words, yes, the signs may not be legally correct, but fixing the problem would be too disruptive, and that means expensive. So the charges keep flowing in, and motorcyclists, van drivers, truckers, car drivers, everyone footing the bill are left high and dry. To add insult to injury, costs have been awarded against Wilcox, the man who's already shown twice that the signage is unlawful. And in this latest court case, they've agreed, basically, between the lines, they've said, we know that the signage is unlawful, we're going to carry on anyway. He does have the right to appeal to a higher court, but it's another round of legal fees stacked on top of everything else. I've got a bit to read from what Howard Cox from the Fair Fuel campaign has said as well. But that's all you need to know. So at the third round, at the highest tribunal, they have, bearing in mind this case is the charges shouldn't stand because the signs are illegal, inadequate, basically. So what they've done is they haven't really contended that argument. They haven't done the ruling based on what it was in court for, but they've turned around and basically said, yes, you are correct, but in order for us to rectify something that we've implemented using illegal signage, the cost to remove it all is too high. And I mean cost, not just financially. I mean, the blow that the establishment would take if ULEZ were to be torn down on a technicality of signage would be too much. They would have to refund all the fines. It would bankrupt Transport for London. There is no way that the establishment was going to let Noel Wilcox win. Those of us who've kind of been following this, we were pretty much aware that that was the case, but we didn't know that it was going to be as blatant as it is now. For them to admit at this third court case that Noel isn't wrong, it's just it would cost too much to undo what they've done illegally. It's insane, isn't it? So the scam of ULEZ continues. The scam of the clean air thing. Oh yeah, we're after clean air, but pay us £12.50 and it'll go away. Unbelievable. So here's what Howard Cox had to say when he saw the ruling. Today, on September the 3rd, I witnessed another example of two-tier justice favouring the establishment in the Royal Courts of Justice. The claimant, Noel Wilcox, took on Transport for London in the county courts for the third time in 4 years. In 2 previous court cases, Noel Wilcox has shown that the low emission zone and ultra low emission zone signage across London is unlawful. Noel had won both of these earlier cases, and yet Transport for London has continued to charge motorists, knowing full well that the signs are illegal. The basis of the case, now in its 3rd stage, is that scaffolding company owner Mr. Wilcox has accused Transport for London of resorting to what he called bully boy tactics by ignoring the ruling handed down by a traffic tribunal court in 2021. So these signs, have known these signs are illegal for 4 years. Mr. Wilcox went to court in 2021 and 2023 after being slapped with a staggering £11,500 in fines related to his company trucks driving to and from the depot headquarters in northwest London. Transport for London have employed every trick in the book to undermine Noel Wilcox through various means, including the use of administrative errors. TfL have acknowledged that the signage is both incorrect and unlawful. They were previously defeated in the courts by this brave small businessman who clearly demonstrated that all the road signage is illegal. Today, Transport for London's defence, which the judge seemed to accept too readily, is that the cost of stopping the LEZ and ULEZ projects would be enormous and would severely affect air quality. It's a bit like... I'll carry on. It appears that although Mr. Wilcox was justified, highlighting London's signage does not meet authorised standards, and by proving that his own personal expense, today's court judge concurred with Transport for London's request to dismiss the claimant's case. Remarkably, costs were awarded against Noel Wilcox. However, he now has the right to appeal to a circuit judge within 21 days. This is a classic David and Goliath, showing that the big, well-funded establishment packed with lawyers always overruns the little person. Everyone should support Noel Wilcox's appeal and demonstrate to the judiciary that giving the obviously guilty party such a lenient decision to avoid potential bankruptcy is not only unfair, but it also appears to be orchestrated dishonesty. By targeting Noel personally and refusing to pay his charges, as ordered by previous courts, Transport for London has demonstrated that it is deliberately fleecing drivers through illegitimate emissions charges and fines. Sadiq Khan knows that his TfL is still breaking the signage law and seems to be happy that they continue to do so. Howard Cox, founder of Fair Fuel UK. The way I understand it is, if I had robbed a bank and taken all the money and then it went to court, my defence would be that it would cost me too much to give it all back, so I would get away with it. That's essentially what's happened here. Anyway, that's that. I think what I'm going to do is I'll see if there's a petition, a government petition, that we can back up with this, so that we can basically get something onto the government petitions website about this, because I think this needs to be widespread. It's just insane. Yeah, we know the signs are illegal, but it would cost us too much to refund everybody. Wow, that's where we've got to now. The establishment can genuinely get away with anything. There's no risk for them. There's actually, speaking of risk, there's no risk for me today. I have sent Ron into the middle of Birmingham to go and buy a car from a man named Mo, who won't give me his address, won't give me his phone number, and doesn't reply very often. So it's going to go one of two ways. One, Ron's dead. That's it. We will never see him again. His truck's been stolen. Two, I end up buying a complete crock of... I'm told the car's great. Mo has told me that the car is great, but they haven't really told me anything else about it. And we don't yet have a full location, but Ron's already gone.
It's all right, Geoff. Once I switched it up a gear on them, they started being a bit more sensible. But I've just snatched the 400 quid back out of his hand, so keep the car. I said, you're taking the I said, you've had me driving here, so he said 400 quid. Oh, quick. He got the lad on the phone and said, yeah, we're getting him confused with someone else. I said, yeah, mate.
So we've either lost Ron, or I've bought a total nail, or everything works out perfectly. Ron gets safely out of central Birmingham without paying a low emission fine, and I get a really cool, really rare, oddball car for not very much money. So that'll be coming up on the channel probably tomorrow or Friday. And then the other thing I wanted to conclude with is, how do you fix the rear window seal of a Mark 6 Ford Transit, rear door seal, sorry. If you look on any of the forums, everybody says these Ford Transits leak from the back doors. They leak up there and they leak over there, and nobody knows how to do it. I've sorted it out. What you need is a Nissan Qashqai. Pull all of the door seals off a Nissan Qashqai, right? Put those to one side. Order a new seal that goes around the inside of the door for your Transit. I've done that, fitted a new door seal. And then using the door seals from the Qashqai, I fitted a seal to the outside of the door. And then using a cut-up piece of Nissan Qashqai seal, I made a spoiler so that water now cannot get to the back of the van. It has to go down the sides. And I've fixed all the leaks in my Transit. Very pleased with that. That's it. That's all I got for today. Let me know what you think about the low emission zone, and I'll update you if Ron's still alive by later on today.